I believe even the government doesn't understand, certain things because you got too many lobbyists. They design something, bring something in. May or may not work, but it's all about money, and it's not really doing the right thing. It's
Or even for the wrong reasons. It just doesn't seem like there's if you have enough money to lobby, then you're going to get whatever you want passed. And I mean that's kind of an old saw you're hearing from everybody in this country about big corporations running the country.
And so
I agree with that.
it just like people aren't aware of some things out there that are actually killing the world.
All right, before we even start this interview, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to ask, how does a racing family care about the bees? So I really want to know myself.
Well, and you've got to question it when you see us start up the truck and it's just boiling out black smoke. But we're not running down the highway with it like that. I mean, the trucks with the DPF systems and all of the other exhaust systems are running down the road every day, all day long, however many trucks there are. This actually racing in the truck shows is just a great platform to get the information out that we need to get out about the RPM Act and about the bees dying from these exhaust systems and the research that we are doing.
I love that. And the RPM Act, real quick, let them know.
The RPM Act is anything that was born, any kind of vehicle that was born with a VIN number will not be able to be raced at all. It has to meet emission standards.
So most of America's joy is going to be gone if that goes through.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of sad people out there if they can't go to their races.
I heard that. What are we doing at this moment?
We're trying to warm it up, wake the injectors up so it'll stop smoking. Once it starts warming up, it'll smooth out, and then it'll be go time.
Video because it really is exposing the truth that what the EPA is putting out and making us put on our trucks is actually worse for the environment and unsafe for us and unsafe for
we'll look
the
at
ecosystem.
You look at two that people aren't aware of. Now it's being forced to be put on emergency vehicles. Well, we see and we get phone calls all the time. While this emergency fire truck made 3 calls and then went into D-rate or down. People aren't aware of this. Ambulances, people losing their lives over. They're keeping that quiet.
Bill Rathwich has come in clutch for us. He actually lent us one of his new trucks when he was still waiting for a driver to put in it that we actually started doing some initial testing with there, and he just like, yeah, whatever you need, just test it. And Bill's an awesome guy.
No, he is. So for the people to have a good understanding of this, when they're driving down the road, with the bees, and we've all seen them, in their crates. What fumes are coming out exactly that are making them dormant?
So that it's a combination from what they found over in the UK. It's a combination of the diesel engine itself in combination with the uric acid when it reacts in like the SCR, and then the DPF filter on top of it because it gets very hot and it breaks down the urea and it breaks down the diesel exhaust, and with the low sulfur and everything with it too. They don't know exactly how the mixture is, but they know whatever is coming out is not good, and it's not sure which component entirely is the culprit with it.
Seems to be more enhanced now that we've gone to urea, so that's kind of where they're
going with it.
Towards, and that's where our study is to find that out. Is it something EGR, DPF, and then the SCR, or is it just the SCR that's causing
or is it the low sulfur fuel, or is it
Combination of all these things, and these are just tests.
What's going on, Mother Truckers? Welcome to the Asian My Show. We're here today with Elite Diesel Service. We're here with the whole family. Look at this beautiful family right here. We have a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of things that could affect your life. And so in this segment, definitely listen up.
I'm TJ, and this is my mom Holly, and then my dad Troy.
Yeah.
It's a family business. Been doing this officially since 2004.
2003, yeah.
That 3, but even well before that. Dad worked at CAT for quite a while on the experimental truck engine side and some of that stuff, and then went out on his own, and it went from the bed of a 95 GMC pickup to this. So
Isn't that something?
yeah,
And
we still have that very first service truck too. That was my pickup in high school.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. And I'm letting you guys know these are very humble people. A lot of the amazing trucks that you might know of, there's a great chance that this wholesome family has touched some of those engines. So I'm just letting you guys know that right now. So that's just the truth. But we were talking off camera, and there's a lot of things that are going on in the industry, and a lot of shutdowns that people want to do. So there's one thing in particular that we're talking about: the races.
Yeah. So
What about that?
So there's a law currently. Well, it's the EPA's Clean Air Act right now doesn't or there are parts of it that could let them shut down any vehicle that wasn't purpose built for racing. So if it was like even your Miata that you turned to a track car, they could in theory shut that down and fine you for that. So currently SEMA and a lot of other places there's called the RPM Act, and it gets reintroduced every couple of years, but it never seems to gain any traction. But that's to then help add to the Clean Air Act that if it doesn't have license plates, even if it was built with a vehicle that has a VIN plate or anything like that, that if it no longer is registered and it's track only deal, that the EPA can't come and touch it, because that's a big thing with the trucking market, because nobody purpose builds a race truck. It's always a truck that you took off the road and everything. Like this truck here, it was a glider, and we went with it that way because the gliders fall into the weird emissions or lack of emissions area anyway. So, but we went that way just so the EPA couldn't mess with this truck in particular.
And to let people know about this is not just trucks. We're talking about cars.
Anything if it has a license plate on it, that the government can shut it down. So it's called the RPM Act, and we want everybody to kind of jump on board with that, because it affects the weekend racers, the kids that trying to get them off the street on the track, and it affects everything. So
I hear that.
it's pretty important.
I'll definitely have links down below so we could be more knowledgeable about this, because honestly, before you guys talked about it, I heard about it in the car world, but I didn't know that affected us in the trucking world as well.
And SEMA has a nice link, and we can get that link to you so you can have that there, where it's a preformed deal, and then you can just send it, and it sends it to all your representatives and senators, everything you just put in your address, and it hits the right people, so you can let them know, we need to get this going. Because it's been introduced, this is the 4th time, and it just sits and stalls in committee and doesn't go anywhere because nobody really knows anything about it to push it. And that's kind of what we need to gain, is some of that traction to push that.
Well, I'm glad we're here to do this interview today, so hopefully you gain some traction. With that said, what do we have behind us here? Give us some specs,
So this is our race truck that we built with Bill Rethwich Transport. I know you've had Luke on.
He's a superstar.
Yeah.
Him and his little brother.
Yeah, Luke and Fred. They are. So we last year we were at Race in Onaway, Michigan, and we wanted to do our own deal, because we'd always just been an engine builder but never really had control of the rest of the truck.
Yeah.
So we talking with Bill, and Bill goes, "All right, well, I got a truck." He goes, "Let's do this." So it started from there, and it was a glider, had a sleeper on it, and it was copper color, and about the only thing original on it is the VIN tag.
I love that. I love that.
That and the headlights, I think.
I love that. Yeah, let's walk it. Let's walk it like DOT. Anything you want to just talk about, and we can just go around.
We'll start up here real quick, because then some of the other stuff will make more sense.
Yeah.
So right here, right now it's just set up with the single turbo. We do have a twin setup for it, but running on time constraints. But that'll be there for when we bring it to Louisville for the show next year. It'll have the twins back on it. Then we have our aftercooler here, a little radiator. We run an electric water pump because what we found with one of our race engines, we ran it for 2 years and it just started pushing water. We're like, we broke the head, something like that. And then Gary, the guy that drives it, he took the front structure off that engine and the water pump gear fell right into the front cover.
No.
So we're like, well, we got to get rid of that. So yeah, we did that, and we can walk around.
Yeah.
This right here, it's a 106 millimeter charger right there, and we'll be pulling it tonight here at the Cassin show and everything. And we can go to the other side and see some more unique things. This is our battle scar on it. It won't be here for Louisville, but when we were at Onaway, we blew apart the aftercooler, and it's a good thing we had a hood because it'd have gone sky high otherwise.
Oh no.
So
That's a part of it, though, ain't it?
yep.
Part of racing.
So, and then we have a quasi-dry sump oil system on this one. So we still have a sump pan down here, but then we do this because, again, getting rid of some of the stuff hanging down there where less issues, so we don't have gear breakage. Then we have a big transfer pump and our air shut off. And then that's actually a water, I call it an aftercooler coming from Cap, but a water to air jacketed water cooler to cool down the air coming into the turbo. Because we tried running it on away after we blew it apart, and we were hitting 350 degrees intake temp, just idling, just flat footing it. So, it's a requirement.
Oh wow.
And then kind of show inside here. So we took out the 389 dash, put a Corvette dash in it, 359 Corvette dash in it. Big reason is, well, two reasons. It looks cool, and the other reason is it gives us a little bit more leg room because Gary's not the shortest person. So, and everything there with it, everything's on switches, all controlled there. We have the main battery power here, and then just activate all the switches. Yeah, so, and then down over there is our launch control right behind the clutch. So that's how we go with that. And then fuel tank here on the other side is actually the water tank, 75-gallon water tank just for the aftercooler. That's all that cools.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta see that setup. That looks crazy. We gotta walk around.
And then we went with a different suspension than most everybody else does with the racing. Most everybody else does a new way, but we went with the Hendrickson Primax because it's actually a true 4-link to help. And coming from the drag racing world like Dad did and everything there, we know 4-link works better. So going with a true 4-link with it. Here's our hitch for tonight for the pole.
Yeah.
And then, so this is just purely water for the aftercooler. So we can put ice in here, help cool the temps, because with drag racing, after a couple passes going around, you can't touch the tank. The tank is hot. So that is just purely water for that.
That's it.
Put ice in there.
Yeah, we'll put ice in there. And
About 69 degrees.
yeah. So, and this thing is monitored to the gills, the engine is. We're monitoring drive pressure, drive temperatures, everything on there. If it's something that we think is useful, we monitor it and data log it.
So every truck driver already wants to know if they had to guess how much horsepower this is. I like that look that you give.
In that 4,000 or so range there.
4,000.
We're turning 4,000 RPM.
Yeah, we and with the ECM, which we can show you here in a second, we have the potential to turn, as long as there's fuel to it and the pistons stay inside of it, it'll keep turning RPM. So we've hit 5,000 with it, and this is a 17-liter engine, and turning 5,000 RPM an inline-6 engine is it changes note. It actually kind of gets quiet. It's
really,
yeah. It's a weird
weird.
sound. It's a real weird sound.
And so at that much RPM, how much horsepower to the ground? Yes.
Not sure, because it's the big thing.
We haven't been able to keep it on the dyno.
Yeah,
it wants to.
Every dyno wants to break.
Yeah, every
Well,
dyno
and
wants to come off the dyno.
Yeah, we have our own chassis dyno and engine dyno back in Colorado, and even the previous trucks where we've tried to strap them to the chassis dyno, you may as well try to ride a bull. It'll be easier than trying to keep that thing down to the
Oh
ground.
my God, I would love just to be there, regardless.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
And Gary, our driver over there, I have a video of him in a green Kenworth that we built an engine for, and he's just rocking back and forth trying to, and he's like, I can't even let the clutch out safe enough to where we can actually try to load this thing up, and then you're just spinning the tires on it. You can't get enough down pressure, so.
That's amazing. this. I can take a step up here. You're okay with that?
Yeah. Come on up, bud. This is why we do this stuff, is to show it off.
Uh-oh.
So here's the brains of it, and like I was saying, we data log everything. We even monitor the shock travel as we go down the track, and then with the ECM and this whole setup we get from overseas, and then all this stuff is regular race car data monitoring. Like I said, we monitor turbine temperatures, everything like that, and we have a very OCD programmer guy, so everything is labeled, so we know. So we'll go to have trace wires, and then this is actually what powers the injectors for CAT ECM, because Cummins and Detroit both run off 12 volt, but CAT is about 120 volts, so you have to have these drivers to boost the voltage coming in there. So that's why what this is, and then this is the actual ECM itself, and then here's our dash. So we display everything here, and we got our secret switches, so nobody knows exactly what everything is.
Yeah, we're not gonna give up all the secrets today.
But yeah, so this is the inside of it, and it's gonna be, when it gets to the Louisville show, it's gonna be vastly different. It's gonna spend the winter with Billy, getting the interior all done and everything like that, and then it'll come to us and we'll do some more engine work on it and be ready to go racing there Memorial Day weekend there in Onaway, Michigan for the first race of the season.
No, I appreciate it.
And our goal is to go, as long as the border opens, our goal is to go to Canada and take their trophy from them and bring it back to the States.
Hey!
Because it's not on here yet, but the truck number is 1776. So we're coming to get it.
I love it. That's great. This being a race truck, I'm sure it's a little bit different than a normal truck. What's the process when turning it on?
We have to prime the engine with oil before we start it, get it all lubed, and then we start it and have to let it warm up, get the cylinders firing right. They're not all firing at this point even. They're just starting. So it takes probably 5-10 minutes for it to warm up, get the cylinder temps up where they need to be, so it'd be ready to roll.
So tell me, sir.
Yes, sir.
How the heck did you sign up for racing trucks?
I've been in trucking for 25 years, owned and operated my own trucks, and kind of known to be a little crazy driving them, so here I am.
There it is.
156 pounds of boost with no load. We'll see what it does tonight.
Yeah. I think you guys might be okay.
Well, he was given instructions, either win or send it to the moon, so.
There it is. I love it. Why do you love this so much?
Oh, it's probably. I mean, I was raised around it. My dad owned an international dealership, so I went off to college and tried to do other things and went to work for Caterpillar. It's probably in my blood. I mean, when I worked for Cat, I was classified as a wizard. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from, and I think the biggest thing is when somebody tells me it can't be done. And
See
then,
something amazing or something amazingly stupid.
yeah.
I love that.
I believe even the government doesn't understand, certain things because you got too many lobbyists. They design something, bring something in. May or may not work, but it's all about money, and it's not really doing the right thing.
Or even for the wrong reasons. It just doesn't seem like there's if you have enough money to lobby, then you're going to get whatever you want passed. And I mean that's kind of an old saw you're hearing from everybody in this country about big corporations running the country.
So
I agree with that.
it just like people aren't aware of some things out there that are actually killing the world. So there's a study that comes out that came out a few years back, and it was done over in the UK, overseas, and it's a study about the bees and on diesel engines and diesel trucks. Well, the bees are there, obviously, to pollinate to make our world, where they have the flowers or the fruits, the vegetables, everything we really need. Well, we have discovered through a roundabout way. I have a customer that in Castle Rock, Colorado, that hauls bees all over, and a few years back when California told them when they need to upgrade their truck to a newer version of it, all of a sudden things were happening to the bees, especially in the urea. The stuff that was coming out the stacks started making the bees dormant. They're non-pollination. So all of a sudden now California is not allowing this guy to bring the bees in because they're already dormant and things in this aspect. Well, if we don't have bees in the world, we're not going to be able to get our, the people's wines, just anything. It's just and not a lot of people are aware of that. Well, we have an EPA emissions dyno that we're doing some studying with, and last week my son was able to talk to some people over in the UK about what their studies was. So they got really intrigued. They're going to probably help us with this study so we can make more people aware what's happening. And my son can kind of explain a little bit why this is so important in this aspect. We're actually going to raise the bees ourselves, and
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So what they found there, so there's two professors that I was talking with over there, one from the University of Reading and one from the University of Southampton over there. But in my research with it, because we had that customer and we've had other people we deal with, they have customers with the same issue with bees in hauling bees. And what I found out is in the world, we're really the only country that transports bees by semis long distances. Most every place else, they'll have a hive nearby and then they go get whatever bees they need and everything, but it's not huge long distances. But they were over in the UK, they were worried about this issue 10 years ago, but nobody really, because we haven't found, and maybe there is somebody and I just haven't done detailed enough research, but I haven't found anybody over here in the States that's studying that. It's all overseas. So with that, but what they find is it messes up their nervous system, and then they start losing different scents, and then they can't pollinate, and then they go dormant and end up dying. So what we're working with is with our engine dyno and chassis dyno, and then this emissions test bench, we can actually study that and look at that, because like I was telling them, I go, we have the capability to measure everything, and we can even do different things with tuning to see what is better and what's worse in it. And they're like, well, that's what we need. We needed somebody with that side of it, because we knew what we were seeing was bad, but we didn't know any ways to change it. And that's another thing where Bill Rathwich has come in clutch for us, is he actually lent us one of his new trucks when he was still waiting for a driver to put in it that we actually started doing some initial testing with there, and he's just like, yeah, whatever you need, just test it, and I'm Bill's an awesome guy.
No, no, he is. No, he is. So, for the people to have a good understanding of this, when they're driving down the road, with the bees, and we've all seen them, in their crates, what fumes are coming out exactly that are making them dormant?
So that it's a combination from what they found over in the UK. It's a combination of the diesel engine itself, in combination with the uric acid when it reacts in like the SCR, and then the DPF filter on top of it, because it gets very hot and it breaks down the urea and it breaks down the diesel exhaust, and with the low sulfur and everything with it too. They don't know exactly how the mixture is, but they know whatever is coming out is not good, and it's not sure which component entirely is the culprit with it.
Seems to be more enhanced now that we've gone to urea, so that's kind of where they're
they're going with it.
Towards, and that's where our study is to find that out. Is it something EGR, DPF, and then the SCR, or is it just the SCR that's causing them?
Or is it the low sulfur fuel, or is it
a combination of all these things? And these are just tests that nobody's able to do. But it's very, very important. So we're trying to obviously gain some help from people out there to help do the studying, but it's that awareness that people aren't.
Yeah,
that's been going on for some time, and we need to get all banded together and stuff. Right now, down the road, California somewhat knows about it, but they keep it a hush hush because, well, what are they going to do? They've already forced everybody to do this issue. Well, they, like every other government operation, well, we made a mistake. We don't stop what we're doing. We just add to it. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
And that's the big thing too, and that's why. And I'm sure a lot of your people that watch this have heard the rumors of there's going to be even more changes to the emission system. Is urea going to stay? It's everything like that, and it comes back to we just need to do the testing to figure out what's going on with it, and just see what the culprit is instead of just trying to band-aid stuff. Actually, figure out what the problem is.
I think that's always been a big problem. Is they look on the books and they say, okay, this looks like it's better for the environment. Mm-hmm. Is it really?
Right, and that's the big thing, because I've sat in. So a little more background with me. I came back to work for Dad after leaving I went to college and then worked for NASA for 7 years, and then came back and working for Dad. But it's the learning, the studying, and I still have a lot of connections, and they're very interested in it. They don't know in what capacity NASA thinks they can help, but there are people there that are interested in it. But it's doing the testing, doing that research, instead of just trying to band-aid it, and just instead of figuring out what the problem is and keep adding to it. And like I said, those professors over in the UK, they were like, yeah, we were talking about this 10 years ago, that this was going to be a problem.
Years ago, like when I was at Caterpillar, we used to do studies and testing, 3 to 5, 6 years long before we brought anything out. Well, nowadays with the new computer system, they put it in there and say, well, this will work, but nobody's done any testing, so they just throw it out there. Well,
real world
testing is gone by the wayside, and this is where we need to come back to reality.
Because that's a big thing. I mean, one of the things with the DPF issue, one of the things there is they didn't plan on drivers not shutting the truck off because it's Phoenix and it's 110 degrees at midnight, and you want your AC because you don't want to cook in your sleeper. Well, idling is the worst thing in the world for a DPF filter. That's why the faces clog up, because it's not under load and it's just soot buildup.
And they start catching on fire.
Yeah, they start catching on fire in the SCR. It's the same issue. You have all that there, and don't get me wrong, I was a computer nerd when I was at NASA with that. Did a lot of simulation stuff. Oh yeah, this should work. But we have to get out there, because, and the other thing too is regular maintenance with it. Well, when fuel prices go up, the first thing to go is maintenance on a truck, because the guy can't afford it. He's just got to keep making money somehow, some way. So maintenance is going to go by the wayside. That'll be the first thing gone.
Well, this is actually a big video, because it really is exposing the truth that what the EPA is putting out and making us put on our trucks is actually worse for the environment and unsafe for us and unsafe for the ecosystem.
Look at two that people aren't aware of. Now it's being forced to be put on emergency vehicles. Well, we see and we get phone calls all the time. While this emergency fire truck made 3 calls and then went into D-rate or down. People aren't aware of this. Ambulances, people losing their lives over. They're keeping that quiet. Buses, school buses catching on fire. Lucky enough there wasn't any kids on them, but it's happened, and that's all hush hush.
There was one with a kid on it in Iowa a few years ago, and they blamed the driver for the DPF getting hot because he got stuck and it killed the driver and killed one of the kids on there. And NTSB had a big investigation, but they blamed the driver for mashing on the throttle, and that made the DPF too hot. Well, shouldn't we have something in there that keeps the DPF from getting too hot so it doesn't catch the school bus on fire? I mean, and have that in there, and it's just things like, but that's one that doesn't really get talked about. NTSB had a huge investigation into it because it killed a kid, but still nothing really changed. And yeah, we have them. I mean, fire trucks, you can see them, especially out there. And that's another thing that just idles a whole lot, so it's never really under load. Well, that's why that does that, is because it's not designed for that. Those DPF filters and the current emission systems aren't really designed for it.
Years ago, those kind of things were exempt. Well, now the government's forcing it, and there still should be some exemption because it could be a very important person to lose their wife or their spouse, kids through the ambulances. It's just things like that aren't being heard of, and then on top of that, the stuff that we're designing out there is bad. So we just want people to be aware of it, maybe help us get on the bandwagon to make the Congress, the Senate, these people aware of what's happening.
Yeah, it always takes 30 minutes to get everyone together.